CNN had a very interesting headline talking about this kind of energy crisis. Recently, they had a headline that said, quote, "Why Biden can't do much to ease gas prices." And a couple days ago, they had another article that said oil prices are finally falling thanks to China and Joe Biden. Literally contradicting themselves, just pushing for the narrative. They had another piece today that was talking about the problems with the inflation narrative, and they blamed everything on it's all OPEC's problem. It's all OPEC's fault. No, it's not. No, it's
let's get into the specifics on the strategic oil thing. We have this story from Timcast.com. Biden administration to use strategic petroleum reserve to lower gas prices. The White House will release 50 million barrels of crude oil. This is it's. I don't think that regular Americans who lean Democrat understand signaling and how the actions of the administration not the hard actions, but what people feel and see based on what's happening will have an impact. So I'll give the example I just gave. When Biden says we're shutting down Keystone, well, of course, Keystone wasn't transporting oil. So oil supply is unchanged. But people are predicting for the future. If we have X growth, we're going to need X% oil increase.
And investing for the future.
And investing
or not
for the future.
Investing for the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when Biden shuts down Keystone and bans fracking on certain lands, all of a sudden people say, whoa, we're not going to have enough supply in 3 years. We better buy it now. Everybody rushes. Everybody buys. Prices skyrocket. Then what does Biden do? Oh, no, something I did is causing a spike in prices. Let's dip into the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which is for what? Economic disasters and war and other crises, and start pulling out 50 million barrels to try to get the prices down. This is another signal. It's going to be it's an entropic failure. It's a downward spiral that's going to slowly spin more and more chaos. This move from Biden is going to cause more people to be like, we are in bad shape. Prices are probably going to go up because of the action of doing this. What you mentioned, the 50 million barrels of crude oil is what, 2.5 days?
Lydia got that right. She got the quiz right.
So Biden thinks putting out 2.5 days worth of petroleum is going to help ease prices. It's going to jack prices up.
Remember, Bidenomics is kind of interesting. It's like he's pushing this latest $3.5 trillion bill they want to pass, and he's saying that's going to take inflation down and pay for itself. Now, in what world would that possibly happen? To have a massive dose of Keynesian spending, which is, look, we had a $2 trillion bill that we were trying to get passed before the election at a time when the economy needed some help. But here's the difference. Our focus was on bringing our manufacturing home. We were going to spend most of that money as a way of promoting Buy American, Hire American. And I think you mentioned, Luke, the medicines and things like that. There's a whole chapter in the In Trump Time book about this executive order I wrote on what's called essential medicines and medical countermeasures. And it was a Buy American order to basically bring home all of that stuff we need. The pandemic was a wake-up call to us.
Yeah, majority of our medicines and also things that you need for medical procedures are produced in China.
And some of that stuff is in India. Like if you take like medicines, there's the fixed dosage form, which is the end product, which you get. But in between, there's the base chemicals, and then there's the intermediate. And the base stuff is like really pollution heavy if you're not careful about it. And since India and China are not, they dominate the market. So we're kind of stuck. So when the pandemic hit, like India started, it's like 80 countries began rationing either medicines or machines or both when that pandemic hit. It's like it's kumbaya. Like let's all reason together. No. Economic nationalism is what happens when the stuff hits the fan.
Yeah, the United States stole a plane, correct me if I'm wrong, from France that had PPP in it. Do you remember that?
That one I don't remember. Okay. But I do have a cool one I can tell you from the book. This was let's call it the Italian swab job. Remember the movie Italian Job with Mark Wahlberg? Okay, so I'm sitting in my office It's like a Friday late on a Friday afternoon, just working my butt off because the pandemic was like going crazy. I get a call from Health and Human Services, and it's like we got 1 million swabs stuck in the Italian Alps because they're getting Northern Italy's just getting hit with a pandemic. It's like, can you help, right? So it's like, this was the cool part of the job. This was really cool. It's like, all right. So I call a sit room, the situation room. It's like, the cool thing about the situation room is like literally you could track down anybody on the planet within 5 minutes, like if you need to, right? Cool. It's like, hey, I need Tim Pool. Get his ass on the phone. Yes, sir, right? They'll find you. You might be playing your guitar or something, don't want to talk to me, but they'll find you, right?
I never answer my phone.
Anyway, so I get the Pentagon to agree to send a plane from the factory, right? And so while it's in the air, I realized that, well, we got to get the swabs to like 6 cities. So I call up the CEO of FedEx, tracked him down through the sit room, Fred Smith, and say, hey, Fred, look, we got to get these swabs out. Can you get us some of your planes? He said, yeah, why don't you divert the plane to Memphis? We'll have 6 planes waiting for you there. Wow. So it's like from the time I got the call to the time we actually landed the swabs in the 6 different cities, like 72 hours. It was pretty cool. But that's the kind of stuff we were doing in the middle of the pandemic. One of the other stories in the In Trump Time book is worth sharing. It's like the homicide detectives in New York City were being forced to go in and process people who were this awful, people who died of COVID, right? Mm-hmm. The homicide, because there wasn't enough frontline responders to do that, right? And so they're freaking out because they don't have enough equipment. So the chief of police emails the White House, and I did Monahan. I pull it up, and he goes, help, SOS here. So I called these two really cool folks at General Dynamics and another company, and Phoebe Novakovic in particular, and say, hey, can you get me some Tyvek suits? See, these are like the kind of space age type suits, right? And within 15 hours of getting that email, we had 4,000 Tyvek suits coming from all around the country. From these 2 defense contractors. That's the thing I was so proud of this country, when you saw good corporations who would rise to the occasion. And then I had to deal with bad ones as well, like Pfizer or Honeywell, who just were in it for the money, Tim.
I want to ask you about what Joe Biden was doing, a few key points that I've brought up, and with your expertise, having worked in this, worked in the White House and all this stuff. So I see Joe Biden, more regulations, right? We see him say he wants, the Democrats in general, they want to raise wages. They want higher minimum wage and all that stuff. And I'm all for people getting paid. I just don't believe that you can just tell people to do it and it happens, because there's a big machine of economics. But they want to raise corporate taxes. They want to eliminate tariffs and raise wages. These 3 things, correct me if I'm wrong, you end up with a corporation in the United States who says, okay, we're just told by the Biden administration and the Democrats, they want our corporate taxes to go up 5%. So now we're going to lose X dollars per year here in the United States. They also are saying we have to pay more. So now we're going to lose X% more in rising wages. But they're getting rid of the tariffs. Hell, let's move the factory to China. Huh. Then we'll pay people dirt. You got to pay people dirt. We're not going to. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so what Biden has done is he's incentivized these companies to leave and take American jobs. Yes. And now the funny thing is, people say, what has Joe Biden done? It's not his fault. It's a pandemic. And I'm like, if you just watch what he's doing, and then we look at this thing with the oil, it's like when the ports got backed up, he announces, we're going to keep these ports up and running 24/7 or whatever. You extend the hours and allow people, which didn't address the actual problem, that they couldn't do anything with empty shipping containers. But of course, Biden comes out and says, I'm going to do a thing. And then these people are satisfied by it. They're like, oh, well, Biden's doing stuff. And then nothing changes. Things continue to get worse. At a certain point, Biden's approval rating is in the gutter. I mean, by almost every poll's got him in the 30s at this point.
Yeah.
Independent voters, approval rate for independent voters, 24% on civics. He's in the gutter because people are finally waking up and being like, yo, I think these Biden admin people are burning this country to the ground.
But he's happy every morning because he looks at the poll numbers and Kamala's below him.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I guess
Hey, that's an adult reference there.
Oh,
doesn't
sorry.
do it all the time.
No,
Doesn't
sorry.
do it all the
Sorry,
time. Okay?
I didn't- no intention.
Her polling is below. Is worse
Yes,
than Biden's.
yes.
No, you-
To be clear, yes.
I took it somewhere else.
Don't want
Luke.
to get the censors out there. No,
Luke
that-
is the one who made that dirty.
That was
His fault.
Luke.
Hey, you can't
Cause
fault me
trouble.
here.
But Tim, your point is so well taken because look, again, it's like confusing structural problems with this Keynesian kind of approach to thing. It's like here's the only way real wages go up. It's if people's productivity increases, right? Mm-hmm. If people's productivity increases, their real wages will go up. If you simply increase the minimum wage at a time where inflation is going faster than any rise you can do, I mean, workers aren't going to be better off. But if you also raise the corporate tax and you have less investment, as Tim, you point out, the jobs are going off to China, staying here, the productivity goes down as well. So it's like the thing that
But
they
it's
just
also
don't
massive,
understand basic economics.
It's also massive
I
money
think
printing.
he does understand.
You said more sensible economic principles in the last half hour than any of the Biden officials have said since they got there.
I think
I think they definitely do, because if you look at what's been happening, who's been benefiting from this? U.S. billionaires have gotten a 62% raise during the pandemic. There's a large transfer of wealth happening right now from the very poor to the super rich. And who's benefiting? Who's calling the shots? Well, obviously the billionaires are getting their way. Mom and pop shops were destroyed during the pandemic, while of course Walmart, Costco, Amazon, all those other big box stores were allowed to be open, as we were told 2 weeks to slow the spread, which was ridiculous. We all sacrificed, but the other corporations got to do whatever they wanted to do.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.